On November 3rd, 1954, Japan saw the release of Godzilla. Because of the combined efforts of Tomoki Tanaka, Ishiro Honda, Eiji Tsuburaya, and others, this film would become highly acclaimed as one of the greatest films Japanese cinema has to offer, reinforced by its anti-nuclear message and the horrors of atomic weaponry from a country that experienced such a tragedy firsthand. Over 60 years, Godzilla has remained a staple in pop culture ever since, kickstarting a franchise of over 30 films and inspired many filmmakers such as George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, and Guillermo del Toro. Godzilla is a film with a popularity and cult status that is near incomprehensible and is home to a very devoted die-hard fanbase. However, the series does have its ups and downs, and I'm here to talk about what I would say is the lowest point of the series. Now, despite what some fans may believe, it is not Godzilla Raids Again, it is not Godzilla's Revenge, or 1998, and not even the anime trilogy, but it does have a connection with the decline of Japanese media in the 1970s. However, it is technically not a 70s Godzilla film. Thus, it is not anything from Hereditary or Mechagodzilla. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you... In 1977, Italian film director Luigi Cozzi took it upon himself to distribute the original Godzilla in Italy. However, there would need to be some alterations in order for it to appeal to Italian audiences. There are two types of translation: foreignization, which is the way of translating an original work as it is in order to maintain the essence, and there's domestication, the way of translating an original work by making changes to appeal to another culture. Luigi Cozzi made a domestic translation of a movie that was already a domestic translation of another. Cozzi took the Americanized version of Gojira titled Godzilla King of the Monsters and attempted to colorize it while giving it an Italian audio track and include stock footage from other Italian films, and more infamously, real footage from World War II. Keep in mind, this was 1977, 2 years after Terror of Mechagodzilla. Godzilla already had his send-off at the time, mostly because films in general in Japan were just not cutting it anymore, as people were losing interest in the industry, and a majority of Japanese films at the time were just softcore pornography. So what was Cozzi thinking while bringing Godzilla to Italy? Was it an attempt to keep Godzilla relevant? To get more people interested? I mean, this is an overseas release of an Americanized version of a Japanese film that is 23 years old at this point, only to be Italianized. Imagine if today, in 2018, that Godzilla 1998 was released in theaters in North Korea with a Korean audio track and contained footage from Pulgasari in the Korean War into random scenes. Although this scenario doesn't sound very insane on paper, Luigi Cozzi's result, which would be infamously known as Cozzilla, is beyond insane. Well, to be fair, I'm not Italian, but judging by the way a good number of Godzilla movies were promoted over there, this was probably a good idea at first. But the original Godzilla was already released in Italy back in 1957, so why was this necessary? And in case you're wondering about how they managed to colorize the film, they simply placed different colored gels over the film and called it Spectrorama 70, which, as you can see here, gives Godzilla King of the Monsters the appearance of a psychedelic trip. This was decided because, well, imagine showing a black and white film in 1977. People would definitely pay to go see that. And because colorizing black and white films, done correctly I should add, was already a tedious process. So the result was a low-effort, half-baked coloration of a film that's already considered a classic. Anyway, that should be enough for the background, but how about the actual film itself? Well, it starts off with real footage of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima with very unsettling synth music. I guess the original Godzilla wasn't serious enough already with its anti-nuclear themes. Oh yeah, they also showed the dead bodies. Okay, I know some will argue that it helps support the themes of the original, but the original was executed in a way where it was subtle and allowed the audience to think about what scientific advancements in military technology could do to the world. It didn't need anything like this to reinforce that. The movie was dark and thought-provoking enough already because there were already elements that reflected this in the original. This is just unnecessary. Also, what purpose does Stalingrad serve in this film? As for the rest of the movie, well, it's just an Italian dub of Godzilla King of the Monsters that looks like someone puked crayons all over it, so there's really not much to talk about. But for those who haven't seen this version of the original Godzilla, a journalist from United World News named Steve Martin goes to Japan on his way to Cairo and happens to be involved in Godzilla's rampage in Tokyo. This version isn't necessarily as good as the original, but it still manages to retain its themes, and it's actually kind of refreshing to see the story unfold in the point of view of another individual. I guess Luigi Cozzi saw that this version's execution of the themes of anti-nuclear war wasn't as powerful as they were in the original, so he decided to cram a bunch of World War II footage in there to make up for it. There are also some scenes that were re-edited. During Godzilla's rampage, whenever he breathes his atomic breath, it always cuts to, you guessed it, World War II footage, and occasionally other Italian films. Probably the biggest re-edit is near the end of Godzilla's rampage. It plays quick shots of Godzilla while also playing unrelated yet disturbing footage. And probably my favorite edit is when a train crashes into Godzilla's foot. In the original, there isn't much to it, at least when compared to Godzilla, where they dramatically build up to it by cutting back and forth to stock footage, and upon impact that train explodes and derails as another train crashes into it. Before I go to another re-edit, I would like to mention that you can in fact watch this movie on YouTube for free with English subtitles. However, this version on YouTube is cut short and ends as soon as Godzilla is killed by the Oxygen Destroyer, but you can find the credits on a video uploaded by Gino Cuddy. And the movie literally ends with a bang, with a techno remix of Prayer for Peace. Anyway, Cozilla is what happens when you domesticate a classic just too much. I would rank and recommend Cozilla the same way I would recommend Yongari and The Room, where it's honestly hard to believe that such a thing could exist and be shown in theaters, while also being so bad that it deserves to be seen. Going off of that, I would say that Godzilla is the worst Godzilla movie ever made. It was a totally unnecessary attempt to expose more people to the original Godzilla and had no reason to exist. If you want to see a proper coloration of a largely acclaimed classic, I definitely urge you to watch King Kong in color. This one isn't on YouTube, but you can find clips, and the amount of effort put into it is astonishing, to the point where it might be my preferred way of watching the original King Kong. And if you still own a VCR, this version of King Kong isn't hard to find and can go up for at least $10 on eBay. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Although it would be funny if a Shin Godzilla ended up happening. Oh.